As we mentioned, there are talks underway in Turkey right now to try and finally broker peace between Russia and Ukraine. Let's get an update right now on progress being made, if any, with Ross Collin. He is live for us in Turkey. Ross, what's the latest?
Well, the latest is that we believe the meeting has ended, the first direct talks between the Russians and the Ukrainians since the spring of 2022. And we're getting some press statements.
On Scripps News tonight, we dive into the explosive talks unfolding in Turkey as Trump plans a critical meeting with Putin. Will this be the moment that shifts the balance in the Ukraine conflict? Let's break this down together and uncover the hidden motives behind these high-stakes negotiations.
That are coming out from both sides. I'll go to those in just a minute, but the meeting began with the Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan saying that there are only two paths available, the path of peace or the path that leads to more destruction. He said that establishing a ceasefire is a must. This is a good opportunity to achieve this.
This quote is mind-boggling. By likening a ceasefire to a Hamas strategy, it shows just how convoluted peace efforts can be. The language used here can manipulate public perception, suggesting that peace is somehow akin to terrorism. Are they trying to confuse us?
He also hinted there could be negotiations culminating in talks directly between the two heads of state, Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky. Those talks were something that Volodymyr Zelensky said could happen here in Turkey. He was here. He wanted Vladimir Putin to come, but in the end, as we know, the Russian leader chose not to travel to Turkey for those talks. We understand that there could be a 1,000 for 1,000 prisoner exchange in the coming weeks, suggested by both sides. Also, though, it seems that Russia have suggested one way that they could get to a ceasefire is if Ukraine withdraws from internationally recognized Ukrainian territory. Russia controls large parts of eastern Ukraine, and it seems to want Ukraine to withdraw from that territory, which is obviously a non-starter from Kiev.
Wow, this is a classic power move. By framing Ukraine's withdrawal as a non-starter, Russia is using negotiation tactics that undermine Ukraine's sovereignty. It's a chess game where the pieces are lives, and it's clear who's holding the upper hand.
One thing we do understand is that there could be further talks coming from this, and also it's worth mentioning that President Trump might well be involved. We know that Vladimir Putin and President Trump is a possible summit that is in the works. We've heard from Moscow already today, Friday, about that possible summit, saying that a meeting between President Trump and President Putin is necessary. A serious conversation must be had between the two men.
This is a game changer. Implying that a serious conversation is necessary hints at behind-the-scenes negotiations that could ignore the voices of the people affected. This isn't just about diplomacy, it's about who holds the power in the discussion.
Contacts are extremely important between Moscow and Washington in the context of the President himself, when he was leaving the Gulf a little bit earlier after completing his tour of the region, President Trump said, "I think it's time for us to just do it as soon as we can set it up." So that might be the next major step that we're looking for in this in the attempts to try to end the war in Ukraine, that possible summit between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump after the suggested summit between Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky here in Turkey didn't actually take place. But it is at least symbolic, a major step that we have had those first talks between Moscow and Kiev since 2022.
Peace talks there underway in Turkey, perhaps laying the groundwork for a meeting between President Trump and President Putin of Russia. That's international correspondent Ross Collin for us in Istanbul. Ross, thank you for that report.
As we dissect these powerful quotes, it becomes clear that what's happening in Turkey is not merely a peace process. It's a strategic maneuver filled with manipulation. Are we witnessing a facade of diplomacy, or is it a genuine effort for peace? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.